is also another important day. Remember, last week we started our fact check right here on Checkpoint, taking a look at all of those statements that are made by politicians and influencers alike. This is definitely something we'll be doing every week. So remember, if you've got anything you'd like us to fact check for you, please use the hashtag factcheck at Yvonne Okwara at KTN News, and I will be taking a look at that now. And I have a guest with me who is someone who will be with me for some time to come. Alphonse Shundu is the man behind Africa Check here in Kenya. He's the Kenya editor for Fact Africa Check. And this is important because today is, in fact, International Fact-Checking Day.
Yes.
So a great way to, of course, talk about that. So, Alphonse, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about why this day is important. I mean, I think we all know fact-checking from Trump. He's literally fact-checked every minute. But why is this important here in Kenya right now?
All right, we are going to elections. And after we have seen what can happen to elections, given the phenomenon that is called fake news that has snowballed out of proportion in the last, one and a half years, that's a huge thing. And it's just an opportunity that the International Fact-Checking Network decided to set aside a day and say that this day, immediately after April Fool's Day, so people will be equipped with skills, basic skills, to fact-check the politics, fact-check the politicians, and fact-check journalism, and in everyday life. So if I say something that is not real, something that is not factual, somebody can, like a viewer out there, you can just think, that doesn't sound about right. And it makes people think before they click share. Makes people think before they click retweet. So today is International Fact-Checking Day, and thank you for hosting me again for this day, because there's a lot happening around the world, from Buenos Aires to Georgia.
That's right.
So so many things. The theme this year is don't be fooled again. And we're just trying to make people, the ones who were fooled yesterday with the stories about North Korea ballistic missile site in Kenya, they're not fooled again. So that's essentially why this day is important. And after this, we've put out how-to guides on the factcheckingday.com. And how to fact-check a politician and stuff like that. So anyone who reads that can listen and know if can make a judgment on whatever is being said is right or not.
Is true or not. Okay, so at Shundu, at Yvonne Okwara, if you've got anything fact-checked, if you need anything checked out. So today, let's start off with this one. So right after the president had his State of the Nation, Raila Odinga then had his alternative State of the Nation. He talked about this in Mathare, but this is also available on his website, so you can take a look at that. But these are just two of the facts that we want to check out today. Claim number one, this is what he said, and I quote, "Jubilee took over a nation of 1.5 trillion shillings debt, and that debt is now 4 trillion shillings and rising." Is this true or not?
With this one, it's a bit tricky because we can't, with this one, we can't prove it.
Okay.
Yes, because the latest figures that we have about the debt, now this 4 trillion shillings, the latest data is in the Budget Policy Statement 2017. That document was released in November 2016. And it shows a debt of 3.77 trillion. Now, if you look at when Jubilee took over in March of 2013, the debt was 1.794 trillion. These are figures from the central bank. So we are using these figures, and we looked at it and said, because we don't know, when he makes a claim that it is 4 trillion right now, we can't tell. There is no other document that verifies this figure.
But based on the budget policy statement for 2017, could this have been a rough estimate? A little bit over, if it's 3.77 trillion according to the budget statement?
Yes, it's 3.77 trillion. Now, the thing with fact-checking is you try as much as possible to be accurate. Because when you are accurate, I know the context in which he was speaking was that he wanted to show that Jubilee has sort of mortgaged the country. It has ballooned the debt. So if you look at these figures from 1.7 trillion to 3.77 trillion, that's about 2 trillion in debt taken in 4 years. Now, if that was the context in which you were speaking, that would have been a bit right.
I see.
But then we don't know the current number. Remember, this is April.
Yeah.
The last figures we have are of November 2016 in the budget statement. So because we can't prove it, we rate this claim
as unproven.
As unproven.
Okay, so this one's unproven. Let's take a look at the second claim that was made in former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's alternative state of the nation. So he talked about what's happening at the Securities Exchange. The pension funds and other investors in the Nairobi Stock Exchange lost, the Securities Exchange lost 120 billion shillings in 2016. And therefore, I think the statement he made after this is the slide continues.
Yes.
So how factual is this? And does this mean that the economy is in free fall or shambles, as we've heard, coming from this camp before?
Okay, we will decode this statement this way. So pension funds and other investors, we all know pension funds pension funds through the NSSF and through insurance companies are invested in the stock market.
Yes.
Yes. So other investors include banks and all those other companies, the 68 listed in the stock market.
Right.
So when he says that they lost 120 billion, we reached out to the experts on how best to calculate this.
Okay.
And the gracious Ali Khan Sachu and Caleb Mugendi from Saiton,
yes,
they were gracious enough to tell us that if we use market capitalization to gauge this, we would be a bit right.
Okay.
So we looked at, because he's saying 2016, we looked at the market capitalization at the beginning, the first week of 2016.
Right.
What was it? And then we looked at the market capitalization at the last week of 2016. So the first week, it was 2.064 trillion.
Okay.
Yes, the last week it was 1.901. So you subtract and then you get 160 billion.
Okay.
So right
so
now,
this is in fact an understatement.
this is understated.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The erosion in the value of stock market that has happened over 1 year, it's 162 billion.
Okay.
Yes. So this is an
to the extent that this, is a reflection of the economy and where it is. What did the economists you spoke to say about this? Is it, does this indicate that the economy is in a really bad place? I mean, can we say, based on this statement, that the economy is not doing well at all?
We can't say that, okay, this is why. There is no causal relationship between the stock market and the economy.
Okay.
Because if you look at the way the figures are right now, the economic figures for the last quarter of 2016 are not out yet, but the projections show it's going to grow at 5.7, 5.8, 5.9. Those are projections of the Parliamentary Budget Office.
Okay.
So if you look at that, and you really can't say that the economy is doing bad, but the way, the insight and the sense I got from what they told me was that if there is this happening in the stock market, they call it the bear market, where the trends are going down.
Right.
So if this happens, then it's perhaps a signal that things are not quite right, because there is not so much money in the economy and things are going down. But because we didn't set out to investigate that relationship of how the economy is doing and how the stock market is, we can't make a determination that because this is happening,
that the economy is in free fall. But this
fall.
is definitely an understatement.
This is an understatement. The figure that Honorable Odinga should have put here is 160 billion, which is huge, very
definitely
huge.
Much bigger than what was stated here.
Yes.
Thank you. That's Alphonse Shundu. He's the Kenya editor for Africa Check. He'll be with us every Sunday, taking a look at facts and figures and statements made by politicians, leaders and policymakers that require a little bit of checking. So what do you want us to check for you? Remember to use the hashtag #FactCheck. Next week, what are we taking a look at? The budget?
We might look at the budget.
We might look at the budget,
yes.
Yeah, we might look at the budget. Do you have any questions on that, or indeed any other claim that will be made over the next next 7 days. At KTN News, at Yvonne Okwara, please use the hashtag FactCheck because that's how I'll be looking out for any of your queries. Alphonse, thank you very much. So that's your fact check of the week. We want to take a short break right now. We'll be talking again about the economy and that budget. And there's some interesting findings from a survey that was done by Twaweza East Africa. I'll have those numbers for you. And then we will have my panel weigh in on whether Cabinet Secretary Rotich's budget was indeed pro-poor and whether it can solve some of the issues that we will highlight in our number. That's coming up after the break. You're watching Checkpoint. Stay with us.